So back in the 70s, we actually had assembly plants that were manufacturing vehicles from completely knocked down parts, which basically the vehicle is only 30 to 40% complete. At that time, Peugeot Automotive, Volkswagen, they actually had local manufacturers who were supplying them with things to manufacture cars. Which means that some were making tires, some were making rubber. They were made in Nigeria. As it is, I think if you look at the data from maybe 2-3 years ago, Nigeria only manufactured somewhere like 12,000 new vehicles. So we have taken such a disastrous step back. So I want us to understand that this is where Nigeria is coming from, and we did have this capability to assemble cars from completely knocked down. Today, people like us are having to start from semi-knocked down and aggressively go to complete knockdown. So the position where we are right now is actually a couple of steps back from where we used to be in the 70s. So I want to use that to paint the picture so that we can understand that not only are we steps behind where we were in the 70s, we are not just steps behind where we need to be. So there is a national automotive industry development plan. 2014 edition, they have revamped it in 2013. So I can tell you this, the policy is solid. The policy is magnificent, but the policy is being implemented like any of our policies very poorly. So let me give you this. The NEIDP, when we were preparing to come to Nigeria, and this is over 4.5 years ago, so even though people haven't heard about us, we've been on the ground just planning, collecting data for 4.5 years now. So basically this policy was ratified by the Federal Executive Committee twice, by 2 vice presidents twice, and as at today that policy has not been passed by the House of Representatives. So when the president got in, and I like to paint this historical thing because it makes people to understand that, look, if we have a president that took over a year ago, and can you imagine what his desk must have been on his first day at the office?
In office.
Terrible, I'm sure. And so he had to quickly find way to where he can fast track some of the things in the national automotive. So they now had to sit down and formulate that policy, of course, to fast track the policy, which is already, but by a presidential edict. And then that policy had to basically be implemented. That takes time. We had the foreign exchange crisis where Naira went from 600 to some 1,008. Can you imagine what was happening in the economy? So the president had to sit down and say, okay, look, what policy can we do that would serve us in the short term, medium term, and long term? So again, I want to, I do not believe in criticizing government. They have a lot of faults, but again, we Nigerians are the government. The government is full of Nigerians. So we can't absolve ourselves from saying, oh, it's government that did this, didn't do. We are Nigerians. So I always tell people, look at all the problems on the ground and then consider. So this is, I like to come out here and explain. So the government found itself, how do we solve short term? The first subsidy is costing us maybe 6 trillion naira, money that could be put in infrastructure, youth development, education, health care. So they said, listen, this subsidy has to go. But very quickly, they now were faced with another issue, foreign exchange. So, and then the inflation ramped up so fast. So I want Nigerians to think about this thing. It's not about, so I don't, listen, this calamity we're facing today did not start. It started over 64 years by this year. And then we want a president to come in and fix it in 1 year. We have to be real. So one of the questions I like to ask Nigerians, and I don't want to be but I ask Nigerians, what have you as a Nigerian done 2 or 3, 4 times today to better the lot of the country. So let us think about it that way. Leave the government, let them do their thing. But I want people to understand. So the top producers of CNG are petroleum, right? So the thing is, let us have a policy that converts. Now, medium term, the government will tell you, look, we are looking at EV, but immediately, how can I put buses on the road? Very careful though, because people will say, well, you are an EV expert, guy, so it's easy for you to promote these things. But you know, I like people that are saying it's true. So that every Nigerian is responsible. But we need to understand that it is not the government's role to solve every citizen's problem. Provided the government is responsible to use their tax. As a citizen, you're not going, look, there is a acute 1,000 naira a liter, and we are complaining. And petrol was cheap in Nigeria, 180 naira, which is way below. You have to be productive. Criticizing the government doesn't do, you know, again, my mother and father used to tell me, so the money that the government doesn't have now, but again, the government is shooting themselves because there are other things they are doing that is showing they are not being fair in financial allocation. Let us keep it that way. I'm not a politician, so I don't dabble into those things.
I understand some of these policies. I was having a conversation. Someone has gone 30% using natural gas on the diesel fuel, provides about 40% less expenses.
And yes, I'm in this business, as you know, even though I'm not in CNG.
I understand.
It's my duty to understand. So very simple, but it's still in a gas form. It becomes a liquid, and it becomes the same principle. You know, when. So, but they tried this. Interesting to researching this was that researching this turns out that gas infrastructure is very, very expensive to set up. Now, so we still have to find a way to use what we have, right? So, however, China found out that infrastructure is very expensive. The actual expensive, process. There are other energy. They said, look, how much is your power consumption? I said, hey, listen, I run an extremely power efficient factory. I'm only going to use, in fact, my primarily powered by solar, because we really can't help you, because your consumption has to be 1 megahertz a day. Power us cost 250 to 300,000 US dollars. They said, listen, if their money back. Example of a reprocessing plant, market women who are distributing and selling for now, calculate that in naira, but let's not even bother. Okay, guy that is buying the thing was buying if things happen. Now, because I would have invested in a business that is now facing a lot of costs, that you are productive, we're in trouble, the business closes down, 50 people lose their job overnight. So this is a problem that this is a bottom. There's only one way to go. How this thing translates to, and I call her, please need to think about it that way. That's just the simplest form.
That was supposed to make progress. Was supposed to zine for that decline. In terms, I mean,
a lot of government substance. It was a military government that wanted to do this, but the actual effort to develop to those local content, life, maybe another one is for the RAM, another administration. We were not consistent. Can you imagine that keeps worsening? Output from those factories keep worsening to the point is increasing. People need cars. Importing cars, they are not going to import. Well, not UK because they're right-hand drive, but we should bring it in, and then we now problems are very, when the IDP 2023,
and the plan was supposed to be for 10 years, 2023 to 2033.
Yes. So again, look at that going forward. Are you, at the end of the day, okay, but line up. So and then so look, the game plan of how to get a better country is not a mystery. It is not a mystery.
It's a deliberate effort.
Things I keep thinking about is I didn't have to be back here. Whether or not this company is successful, whatever, is not going to change my lifestyle for 1 minute. Some of the other doctors who were the medical education I received was highly subsidized from University of Ilorin, Kwara State. And that was free education. I said, at the end of the day, you're multiple in this evac. When I'm telling Nigerians, I asked them.
You asked the common man listening to tell you the 3 things they've done, and I'm sure the common man listening to this program today will be wondering, how can I afford the EV, or how can I even afford the CNG? Dr. Fale, talk to us about, are we truly ready? One of the key issues that we have in this country is always the challenge of infrastructures.
Yes.
Are we really ready for this transition?
Yes, we are. And that is the good news. Part of our role is to educate the public, because it's just unfair that people don't know these things. So first of all, people say, well, you sell EVs, so you are one of those that will be pushing EV. 100% not true. I actually believe that every country has to have its power mix in a format that works for that country. I actually believe that you have to mix CNG where it's appropriate. For instance, we think that it is appropriate to provide power using CNG for many reasons, because distributing CNG infrastructure is extremely difficult. And when we were putting in natural gas infrastructure, all those pipelines, those are not high pressure pipelines that can transport CNG. So we are now planning to transport CNG over the road to power trucks that are over the road. Think about that. There's got to be something wrong about that. Okay, it doesn't even sound right. Okay, so again, we believe that you can definitely provide power, electric power, and power your mobility through electricity, because it is at least 75% cheaper, the cost of power. Not only that, there are certain areas where CNG buses work well. Mass transit, logistics, all these trailers, because those guys are going from depot to depot. So you can put the infrastructure in depot and they can move. Mass transit, say all these buses going to the east, to the north, CNG works to some extent. But here's the caveat. So recently I was talking to a state governor. Thank God there are 36 of them, so I don't have to mention which, so I don't get in trouble. But seriously though, I was telling the governor, look, you have 300 buses in this one company, which is mass transit. Each one of these buses will burn more than a 150 to 200 kVA generator, because they are diesel buses, right? Not only that, you are running the bus 20 hours a day, right? So what I wanted to make them understand is, sir, I know that you are aware of this, but I want to mention it because sometimes when we hear things, it strikes us. You are actually running 300, 200 kVA generators for 20 hours a day. No wonder they can hardly sustain the company. Can you imagine how much diesel they are consuming daily? So they cannot even hardly run the service. So I said, well, the truth is all these 300 buses can be powered by 10, 250, 200 kVA generators, and each one of those buses, if they're electric buses, will charge 1 hour, 1.5, 250, 300 kilometers for the whole day. Imagine how much power you're saving right off the bat. And then I was telling them, let's do the math. Would you not like to see this extra money in your bottom line at the end of your year, where you can now have extra things to spend on education? So this is the analogy. So at the end of the day, we have to understand, and this is where I might be a little bit controversial, because now I'm telling a few things about CNG. So we have CNG in abundance. You cannot blame us for a policy that lets us use CNG, right? But you have to understand there's something they call energy density. CNG, LNG, they are gases, right? The amount of energy you can produce from 1 liter of CNG compared to 1 liter of diesel is only about 40%. So while your CNG itself may be cheaper, 300 naira a liter, you actually need to double that. So really, CNG equivalent to petrol diesel is really 600-700 naira technically. But here is the problem that I think people need to understand, and I think we need to let people understand. Yes, we have an immediate problem. The poor man on the street needs to be able to go to work cheaper. He has a car. He needs to do his Okada business, his Uber business, his Keke business. So, you know, temporarily, but medium, short term, we have some problems, because an ordinary mechanic, they will tell you, some of them who have been playing around with gas will tell you, the engine will start overheating, because in order to burn CNG, the average diesel petrol engine has to run at a higher temperature, has to work harder. The lubricant is different, and if you take an engine, the engineers know this, that is designed to burn CNG, you find out that it's a more expensive engine. The bore of the metal is larger, because it has to burn a fuel that requires higher operating temperatures. Now, what is the result of this? The lifespan of an engine which was built to burn diesel or petrol, once you start using it on CNG, which is our principle, shortens. Now, the way I look at this is, listen, so you have a young man who got a job at a bank, last savings. Then he's made to convert this car to CNG because the man is dying of petrol. But I think there are missing information there. I think this man has a right to be able to choose by knowing all the things, because in 3 to 4 years, if his engine is acting up, or even short order, the vehicle will, there are certain things you have to do. So yes, these vehicles can be converted, but there are certain things we need to be upfront. So there's going to be some blowback. Do the citizens require to consider this? But regardless, like I told you, immediate, medium, and long term. So it's problem. Everybody simply cannot have zero. The government is absolutely rid of any economy. June, these are all the problems. Can you imagine? These are 63-year problems, and I don't think it's fair for Nigerians to just say solve it 1 year anniversary. Okay, we need to be realistic, and yes, let the government do their part. Everybody, you know, that we have to be realistic. We don't want to live in cloud 9 and be on earth. You know, we have to live on earth. A mix not realize is that it will be faster to actually implement the electric vehicle infrastructure.
That's the next phase of this conversation. By the way, I've been speaking with Dr. Sam Gભાᴜ. He's an expert of electric vehicle and also a serial entrepreneur. He went through some of his profile. We're looking at the federal government's new automobile and transportation policy, the challenges and the prospects. It looks like we've got a lot of challenges, but the good news is that my guest today is telling us that we're ready to step into that new phase. But more importantly, by the way, this program will take a break by 5 o'clock to take deadline news. Then I will also continue, but we'll pick your calls. I'm already seeing your messages on both sides, on the phone and on Facebook. Some funny questions are coming up. Somebody is already asking, are you sure you went to Unilorin? Conversation around electric vehicle for a lot of nights. Can do the transition. And if I want to take your engine to the a couple of months, it has.
And that board, basically, the car has 2 engines. Basically, there's 2 electric vehicles. It charges the battery because we can rest electric vehicle. It's a 4-door hatchback. You've seen small 4-door hatchbacks, and basically this vehicle, you charge it over 4 hours, it will charge 300 kilometers. So means you can go 300 kilometers
on a 4-hour charge.
4-hour charge. You don't really understand. Apple will tell you, Samsung will tell you, just be charging your phone to cut it. So that's just the innate quality of lithium batteries, right? So the same car will charge 75% in 2 hours. That particular vehicle, 25 kilometers. Same one charge. But so that is one thing. And it sounds funny, but at least 50% a week of electricity, electric vehicle customer. So having out with those chargers, and by the way, those are level 2 chargers. There are also chargers that will charge that car in 20 to 30 minutes, by the way, but they are very expensive. Anywhere from $10,000 to $45,000
for the batteries,
for the chargers.
For the chargers,
yeah. But that is what they call a DC or fast charger. These are AC chargers I'm talking about, because obviously electric mobility in Nigeria is going to significantly rely on. So first thing, 80% of people are going to charge either at home, at a destination, or at work. Simple. So while you are asleep, now most Nigerians will make sure they buy at least a 10 kVA gen. 10. If you have at least a 10-15 kVA gen, you are ready to charge a car. And you cannot plug that gen directly to the car. It will not charge. But you can have a charger that is connected to the electricity in your house, in your meter, with the appropriate breaker, and then you charge your car from it. Now what is so interesting, I look around Lekki, and guess what? People might not use their generator, but they will use it at night to sleep and run their AC. So it's unfortunate that now you are burning the now for going on a year plus, maybe a year and a half, and I charge at home. And my wonderful driver, he said, Oga, I never go petrol station since we buy these cars. I said, James, what are we doing in petrol station now? We have EV. Then it clicked in his head, it's available. But it is sad when you look at it that way. So it's actually ready for people in riding those little cars that drive on ride hailing. I'm not going to mention 300 use 300 kilometers a day, because ride hailing
let's go on.
That you know, are not going to have their own charger at home. They barely, once you charge 300, you're not going to use that whole 300, you know. And yeah, but again, we're showing people this can be done. This is big. You can see the cars online.
Let me see what I'm paying for.
You want EV?
Come around.
Not only that, we're getting ready to start EV driving test. You know, where people twice a month at minimum, you can come and test drive this.
Dr. Fale, let me hold your thoughts.
Okay.
We'll have to take a break.
Sure.
We'll take their line.
We should take questions.
Yes,
definitely.
the phone line 0913-600-0410, but I will be after the headline news. And I've been speaking with, and actually check them out, but you're live on Mainland FM is the situation. We'll be back.
Bribe, you know you don't even have to harass. Protect. Yes, we understand that good enough by you. We feel your pain and we wish things could be different as we continue to call on those police stations nationwide and from mainland
Use Chase River State. NAFDAC says stop storing on a foreign scene, 4 dead, over a dozen missing as extreme weather hits China. And in sports, long jump milestone as 3 Nigerian jumpers soared to record-breaking marks at Olympic trials in Benin Republic. That's the headline news on Mainland FM. Details at 5:30.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. You are fighting for what I love the most. You are fighting for the process, what I will collect. You want cement for what I love the most. So I want what I love cement for my God. You are fighting for cement. You are fighting for the cement and confirm. Put full stop for water wahala. To cook correct food, they always give me joy. That's now why anytime when they cook like this, I they always season them with no cubes. Come add correct vegetables inside. Ugu, tatasheo, shombo, onions. No one I know they put. Now you make my pikin them, they always enjoy my cooking.
Daddy, I never will. I want more.
You see, all your food with correct vegetables. Come season them with no cubes for that to get delicious taste. Today, chop better.
You dey find ways to save your data. You go first start out with your apps. Delete apps wey you no dey use but other things go still dey. Some apps get data saver modes. Make you activate them to control the data usage. You fit also go your setting make you off the auto updates them. Then make you also close apps wey you no dey use to save your data when you no dey use your apps. This small change go fit help you save your data well. For more information, make you go your mobile operator website or consumer.ncc.gov.ng for better tips. Make we dey connect and enjoy our data use well. This message dey come from the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators wey join body with the Nigerian Communication Commission.
Purified water should cement and confirm. Number one waterproof cement for Nigeria. Ogbonge cement for waterlogged areas. Number one waterproof cement for Nigeria. Purified water should cement number one. Purified waterproof cement good full stop. No matter what with Lafayette water should cement water to collect. Water jam house, foundation and basement to go. Ogbonge cement for water long areas. Number one waterproof cement for Nigeria.
Put full stop for water wahala.
Looking for ways to save your data? It starts with your apps. Deleting unused apps helps, but there is more. Most apps have data saver modes. Activate them to control data usage. You can also go to settings to turn off auto updates. Lastly, close unused apps to save data when you ain't using your apps. These changes can make a big difference. For more information, visit your mobile operator's website or consumer.ncc.gov.ng for more helpful tips. Stay connected and enjoy smarter data usage. This message is brought to you by the Association of Telecom Operators and Nigerian Communications Commission.
To cook correct food, they always give me joy. That's why anytime when I cook like this, I dey always season am with no cubes. Come add correct vegetables inside. Ugu, tatashe, shombo, onions. No one wey I no dey put. Na im make my pikin dem dey always enjoy my cooking.
Daddy, I never available. I want more.
You see, all your food with correct vegetables. Come season am with no cubes for that ogbonge delicious taste. Today, chop better.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Things seems anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but yes, now. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday a perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say to except here. This is where I am elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us, man, there is nothing. We are starving. We should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 𝐷𝐸𝐴𝐾𝐿 as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial, Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you next as we discuss the situations.
Thank you very much for staying with us. We're really running on the home stretch now. By 5:30, will come forward for the full bulletin of the airline news. Just listen to, and by 6 o'clock we'll come back for Sport Cruise on Mainland 98.3 FM. Guess what? There's something special for you, our listeners and our followers on sports, but you have to wait by 6 o'clock to understand that. Yeah, there's a giveaway. We'd always do that. But we're back in the situation room, and in case you're just tuning in, I've been having a conversation with someone that seems to have a different idea about how you and I can have, well, mobility. Maybe it's a bit on the elite side in quotes. I'm seeing quite a lot of questions coming in already. And my guest, Dr. Sam 𝐷𝐵𝑖𝑛𝐺𝐴FALEYE, I would respond to these questions. We've been looking at the federal government's policy on transportation, especially on the issue of the introduction of the CNG into the system, the president's announcement that all ministries, departments, and agencies must be running on CNG-powered vehicles. But a lot of questions have been asked. Are we ready? Are the infrastructures ready? What happens to the assembly plant? What happens to the parts? Do we have even mechanics that can work on these vehicles? What is the cost or the risk in the conversion if I'm moving from my normal maybe diesel or petrol powered vehicle engine and I'm moving to the CNG? What risk does it come with? And those are the issues that my guest has been able to help us to unravel today. But I have a couple of questions. Just hang on, I'll pick your calls. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM. You can also drop your text messages on 0913-600-0430. But the 0913-600-0410 is for calls. 430 is for messages. I can also drop a comment on Facebook as well. I read all of that. My guest is still here. I'm going to be taking the questions and I will pick the calls in between, Dr. Fale, if that's okay by you.
Sure.
Okay. So one of the questions, that somebody said is, my name is James from Ikorodu. All of these ideas sounds good, but what is the cost of duties when importing it, or are they going to be assembled in Nigeria? That's one of the questions that have been asked. Okay. Do you want to respond to that? Maybe we should pick calls first.
Yes, and I'm going to make it just really fast.
Okay.
So absolutely, and that is the biggest part of the work we have done, is to build an assembly plant to assemble these vehicles here. Our vehicles are 100% assembled in Nigeria. When I say assembled, I'm not saying 100% manufactured. They're 100% assembled, but that is the journey. One day we're going to be assembling them fully here. So, but yes, so that means that the import duty is not a concern of, the prices you get are the price delivered to you. So that is the short answer to that. So we are not just importing vehicle. We not only manufacture the car, there is a warranty. Most of them will be 100,000 kilometers, 3 years. Even the battery and motor have a longer warranty, up to like 5 years. We have trained electric vehicle technicians that have been on our payroll for over a year, fully trained, which is another thing we're proud of, to be able to contribute to employment and also technology transfer. And then our first repair shop would be inside the factory.
So interesting. So everything is just,
yes,
the whole unit is in one place.
Yes. Well, for now, and then we're going to start opening repair centers shortly.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
So
good evening. Sorry, Dr. Fale.
Good evening, 𝐷𝐵𝐼𝐻.
You're welcome.
I greet your guest.
Good to have you on the show today, Pastor Amber.
And I appreciate his technicalities and his professionalism. But before I continue, I would have rather he really dwelt on that vehicle than telling us how much the fuel cost in Ghana and that fuel is cheap here. Because we are the ones that know what we are passing through. The salary in Ghana, in US and Canada is not the same. And with due respect to him, honestly, he should not dabble into this government issue because they are torturing us.
Pastor Ambrose, the crux of this conversation is about government policies. And then we're looking at the whole introduction of the CNG into the transportation system in Nigeria, and most especially the automotive development plans from 2023 to 2033. So it's almost impossible that we don't have the government side of the conversation. But thank you all the same. 𝐷𝐵𝐼𝐻, good evening.
Good evening, my brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, I greet your guest. he has spoken well. And I want to just ask a question. We talk so much about the electric, electric vehicle, and the CNG vehicle. Now, my question is this: the electric vehicle, is it the same 5 megawatt electricity we have in Nigeria that we are hoping on to start using the electrical vehicle? And then secondly, the CNG buses, I think your guests try to avoid some things, talking about the difficulties that will come with it. Because I do listen to an expert, those who convert. They said before now, maybe 3-4 months after this government came to power, that the rate of converting a vehicle was 350,000. But as it is now, that is nothing less than 1.5 to 1.6 just to convert. And they also made emphasis on that the fact that the new vehicles, the modern vehicles, are more difficult to convert than the older ones. Now, when your guest is talking about assemblage, maybe assembling vehicles here, they are not talking about the common man. How many Nigerians can afford it, even the way the economy is? So if they are giving us hope in that direction, I don't think it's hope for every Nigerian. Not an immediate hope that can solve the problem we are facing. Thank you.
I understand your concerns, making Weze. 𝐷𝐵𝐸 on Facebook is talking to us and is asking, what is the expected cost of EV vehicles? Okay, Ndi also on Facebook is asking, good evening, doctor. Please explain more about the power density as it relates to CNG usage. Is asking, 1, explain more about the infrastructure deficit affecting CNG operations in Nigeria. It also say, why are we concentrating on conversions, be it EV or CNG? Can we import EV and CNG vehicles? He's also asking, all I know is that the petrol and diesel vehicles were not made to take component of EV and CNGs. It is better in their original states. Okay, I mean, a lot of messages are just coming through. Okay, this one also is, I hope you're taking note of some of these things.
Well, I'm taking a mental note.
Okay, okay, maybe this will help.
Okay.
Okay, so the other message says, good evening, God bless your guest for speaking, but how affordable are these EV vehicles? I know that to convert from regular vehicles to CNG is about 400 to 500,000 depending on your car, but can we also convert from petrol vehicles to EV? Okay, a lot of this message, but keep them coming in. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good to have you join us.
Please, I'm calling from Shasha. My name is Onyeka.
Okay.
I'm into gas. So I was hearing you asking him that how can you convert? You want your mechanic talk to you about a gas generator. Will you do that also?
I don't understand. Like, does my guest convert gas generator?
Yes, as in
no, my guess is EV expert, electric vehicle, basically electric vehicle. Okay, I'll pick a lot of your calls and also read more of your messages. Then my guest will respond to some of them at the same time. Okay, Ambassador Musbah, good evening.
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
It is you. I left a lot of meat for you. Refuse to come and eat. Don't ask me.
You didn't invite
How are
me.
you?
I'm very fine.
You didn't your guest there. I think what I discussed today has nothing to do with critics or politics. We are discussing development. To me, someone approached me to turn my generator 3.9 to gas. We are on discussion right now. Stamina, and I'm not sure it's too expensive, but we're still on discussion. After completed, I'll be the one to snap and send to you. Now, to me, I think from charcoal, we moved to stick wooden to do our cooking. Yeah, but now gas is there now, so we enjoy it. So all I'm appealing to government is that to make all these things available, the CNG, whatever, the gas available to power this thing. And I was told that all the police stations are ready to convert to me to have a point, charging point, whatever there. So what it takes, how would it last? To me, I believe it's only the power something. It has to do with the engine, because the fuel consumption will less than this gas, like I was told. So duration, like the new car, that can benefit from this, or the old card from, let's say, 1999, 2000 can also benefit from this stage? So that's what I want to know.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Fale, somebody is asking, we all know how terrible the Nigerian roads are. What is the chance of my car, if I get EV, to sustain the charging period if I get caught up in traffic? Okay, more of that as well. Let me pick another call. We just respond to some of these things at the same time. Excellent. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Okay, can you just change your location a bit so that I can hear you?
Can you hear me clearly now?
Okay, we're good to go.
Yeah, good evening. This is
okay.
Good evening, doctor.
Good evening,
I
sir.
really appreciate you putting your words together. But I will do the line of one caller that called. Please.
Hello, Mr. Adinka. Okay, I'd appreciate if you can call back. Dr. Fela, you want to respond to some of these issues raised? Somebody talked about the sustainability of it if you get caught up in traffic. Somebody talked about the fact that can you convert regular diesel or petrol powered engines to EV? And then somebody is also saying that do we have infrastructures to maintain CNG and EVs in this country? And then I think you've talked about the import duty already, the fact that all of them are going to be assembled here from your plant. So maybe you want to respond to some of those concerns before we pick more calls.
So by the way, these are very excellent questions, and I am very happy that we're engaging people's thoughts. So first of all, an electric vehicle is totally different from an internal combustion when it comes to the hold-up. Actually, the EV is the best one for you to have in a hold-up for the simple reason. Two things you need inside the hold-up is your air conditioner and your radio, whatever you're charging or whatever, right? So these cars usually have an electric compressor, very much like how everybody is buying an inverter AC now. So you are dropping the cost of and consumption of your power. These are very highly efficient, and if you think about it, say you have a Toyota Hiace 15-passenger bus. That 15-passenger bus is definitely smaller than your living room if you have a 3-bedroom house, right? So we're talking about a confined space. Therefore, you will find out that an electric vehicle is really actually consuming power when you're moving. Inside the hold-up, you're not actually using a lot of power. Therefore, this is the right vehicle for hold-up. And I demonstrated something in Ghana where I actually left one of our smaller EV air conditioner on for 72 hours straight. That is 72 hours. And it still did not deplete the battery more than 30%.
Wow.
Yes. So people need to understand it. But again, people are just going to have to wait to learn this. I learned it 12 years ago, but people will learn it now. So that's one thing. As far as roadworthiness, we need to look at an electric vehicle this way. An electric vehicle is a regular internal combustion or petrol or diesel vehicle that is powering that vehicle using an electric motor and battery. So every other thing is really about the same, right? You have your suspension, your brake, your calipers, your every other thing at the same. So if you have a road, what it will do to your EV, it will do to your petrol car.
A regular car.
That's an equalizer right there. But I want to tell people electric vehicles are unique in the sense that it is actually the attempt of engineers to create a more useful machine in the automotive. So a regular internal combustion car might have 2,000, 3,000 moving parts. An electric vehicle might have 80. What it means is you have less opportunity for this to break down. What is interesting is that your internal combustion petrol, diesel, you have to change engine oil, right? You don't do that with an electric vehicle. In fact, it doesn't go in for
a mechanic check.
7 to 12 years for greasing of the motor.
Wow.
Yes. So people are going to find this out. This makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, you're not going to find the rest of the world saying this is the way. So this is the future. We know this. We just want Nigerians to get on the bandwagon, because after you do your CNG and everything, we know where everybody is going to end up is driving EVs. We know this already. And yes, so there was some question about cost. I will quickly say.
Yes, that's from 𝐷𝐴𝐵𝐿, yes. And it says, what is the expected cost of the EVs?
Okay, so let me make it clear. It looks like this is a country that we hear a lot of import duty. You don't pay import duty on this vehicle. It is just like buying any other car from a car dealer, so everything is inclusive. And don't forget that the government has now come out and said that for electric vehicle manufacturers, the knockdown car is import duty free. Now, I want to tell people that caveat that yes, that is true, but we still to make the ease of doing business free. Yes, but when that's been put in place, that letter of support, then you have to go through the process. Automotive dealer, you can't just come and say, okay, I need to cost. You will be surprised, and I hear this, and it really just bothers me where people have decided electric vehicles are expensive. You can't afford them. And that's actually not true, and I'm glad that we're getting ready to open our showroom, because you're going to see some of our models that are comparable to a new internal combustion vehicle, used vehicles before. And this is it, but it's old to somebody else. So size, full size 4-door vehicle, small SUV that are actually better priced than a new internal combustion vehicle. And don't forget, you don't buy gas. Don't forget that worldwide, and this is generally accepted data worldwide, and an electric vehicle will cut down your cost of maintenance by 50 to 60%.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So again, it's not that electric vehicles just showed up and they are getting successful. It's just that they do make sense. So again, the other thing I want to tell our listeners is, listen, I cannot promise you, I don't sell snake oil. I'm a professional, and I'm also an academic. I'm data driven, which means that it is not my intention to come here and just that will be possible.
Chief Executive Officer at SAGLEV rather, and of course EV expert, is an entrepreneur, a trained medical doctor. There's that level of commitment. Medical theories. I'm seeing all of your messages. Unfortunately, I can't plug for Sport Cruise conversation. Doing me big Fᴏʟʟᴏ for being my guest on the show. I appreciate you. The platforms that will get it going. My name is 𝐷𝐴𝐵𝐿. Safe, stay out of trouble.